The power of one tweet. Because of one tweet, at least at first, you were separated from your parents. You've not spoken to your mother now, even to say you love her, in 4 years. Your father has been put in jail for months because he's, well, your dad. They take away your passport. So you become a stateless person, confined to one country, unable to travel, unable to do your job fully. They say they're going to ask Interpol, the international police force in Lyon, France, to issue a multi jurisdictional arrest warrant. That's the same tool they use against El Chapo, the Mexican drug lord, or sex traffickers. And to be clear, all you have done is now tweet a lot that you are in support of freedom, human rights, and you're against your country's president, whom you accuse of being a dictator. And that's when the death threats start. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Crime Waves. I'm Declan Hill. On the podcast, myself and the producers, this week it's Ron Johnson and Eric Krebs, we interview great investigators in the world of crime. And today, we have a special guest, an internationally renowned basketball star from the NBA, National Basketball Association. Enes Kanter is known throughout the sports world as a hard-driving, take-no-prisoners center for the Boston Celtics. He inspired them to the recent finals of the Eastern Conference in victories over the Toronto Raptors and then ultimately losing a tightly fought series to the Miami Heat. However, Kanter is known in the human rights world for his outspoken opposition to Turkish President Erdogan. And that stance, always nonviolent, has led him to a very murky world, replete with escapes in the middle of the night, death threats, and FBI protection. And here on Crime Waves, we wanted to know why an internationally recognized sports star would research arrests, mass imprisonment, and torture of judges, journalists, and professors. He joined us today. Let me ask you a question. July 2020, Amnesty International comes up with a report on a trial in Turkey of 4 human rights activists. Their only crime, as far as Amnesty International is concerned, I use the word crime in parentheses, is that they're a member of a Gulen movement. And Amnesty says, and this is a massively respected human rights group saying, this trial, its verdict is a disaster for anyone who cares about human rights anywhere in the world. Tell the listeners, please, what is going on in Turkey?
I agree 100%. Let me just take you guys back to the first time. My whole life, I only just focus on basketball. I grew up east side of Turkey. All I cared about was just, playing basketball and becoming an NBA player one day. After I got drafted in 2011, and I spent 2 years with Utah Jazz, and my third year, the thing just started to get heated up. Every summer I was going back to Turkey and celebrate my birthday with my family. And that summer, I remember, I went back to Turkey, and things were different. The people were not. They were not happy as I was growing up. And I remember, I asked even my mom and my dad, and I asked them, like, what's going on? And they tried to explain me a little bit. And then I went back to America, and then it was first time the corruption scandal happened.
That's
and,
like
President Erdogan,
2013, somewhere around in that area.
I think it was around December, I believe.
Yes.
And I remember, it was the first time I heard about that. I was like, I did not really care about anything but just playing basketball. But then, it was obviously was affecting my country, so I started to pay attention a little more. I was just going around and reading news and stuff, and after that, just because of the scandal, President Erdogan, his family, and his some of the congressmen that are close to Erdogan was involved in it, and and then he started putting people in jail. He started to put journalists in jail, police and prosecutors in jail, and I was like, what, this is just acceptable, because just because of they caught you, and you cannot be putting innocent people in jail. And I remember that it was the first time I tweeted something, and obviously just because of the platform, because of the NBA, even viral in Turkey and here in America. And I was like, you know what? I saw the one power of one tweet, and that's why I started to pay attention more and more about what's going on in Turkey. And I remember a lot of my teammates were, going out, going to parties, going to clubs, having fun. I was going back to my house, my apartment, and started to study about what's going on. And that's how it started.
And the situation now is there's hundreds of thousands of people in Turkey who are arrested. And I want to emphasize that these are not terrorists. They're not, they're not soldiers associated with a coup. They're journalists, they're professors, they're human rights activists. What is happening with Turkey? I mean, because Turkey was one of the great Islamic democracies of the world.
Right. I mean, you were 100% right, because Turkey could be the bridge of Islam and West, but just because of all this stuff happening right now, it's impossible. And, especially after the 2016 coup attempt, I mean, you look at the numbers, it's just crazy, because there's so many, schools, dormitories, universities shut down. Turkey is the number one country in the world that put most journalists in a jail, more than China, I believe. And there's so many media outlets or are shut down. And I mean, if you're in Turkey and if you are speaking out against the government, you are a bad guy, and they will look at you as terrorists, But that's what I've been trying to tell the whole world, even the Turkish people here. My problem is not with my country. I love my country. I love my flag. My problem is with the current regime in Turkey right now. And like I said again, I mean, that shows that there is no freedom of speech in Turkey, and putting all this, journalists in jail, and it's definitely heartbreaking.
And Erdogan, tell me a little bit about now. He was formerly the prime minister. Now he's the president of the entire country. Tell me a little bit about Erdogan.
I actually met him. Nobody really knows that. I actually met him back in 2011. I shake his hand, and because back then he looked like he looked like he was going for democracy. He was going for freedom and human rights. But just because of after that scandal, it got worse and worse. And now people look at him as just a dictator. And I think he should be held accountable for his crimes, because what he was doing is definitely unacceptable.
I mean, and just to be clear, he has been named, Erdogan, the current president of Turkey, has been named by Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International and human rights organizations around the world for repression. But he still is probably the most popular politician in Turkey at this moment. I want to be completely fair. He's still very popular.
Sorry.
No, please. I'm interrupting you.
I feel like the reason is because he controls the media. Yeah. I mean, you look at the inside of the Turkey, yes, he is very powerful, because, I mean, he controls media. If you're a TV channel, if you're a media outlet, if you're a, newspaper, magazine, if you say anything against it, that he will come and shut down the whole. And there was so many examples of after the 2016 coup attempt. So I feel like, yes, in Turkey, he does get lots of, and he's very popular. But if you go outside Turkey, America, or anywhere in Europe, people started to understand what kind of person is.
Let's talk now about the personal price that you paid because your father was put in jail. Tell us about that, please.
I mean, just because of, I talk about these issues more and more, more and more. I mean, obviously, the current government hated it, because whenever I said something, it was becoming a conversation here in America and Turkey. But I remember it was, I'm trying to remember the exact date. I think it was the right after the quote I was talking about these issues more and more, and obviously it affected me and my family. My dad was a genetic professor. He got fired from his job.
Got
My sister
fired.
went to medical school
Your
for
father
6.
got fired because of
Yes.
something that you tweeted.
He did get fired from his job.
Wow. Wow.
And my sister went to medical school for 6 years. Now she cannot find a job. I think probably the saddest one is my little brother, because his dream was wanted to become an NBA player. So I got 2 brothers, one playing Greece and the one in America. And just because he carried the same last name, he literally got kicked out of every team in Turkey. And it was affecting me and my family so much. And my family had to put a statement out there and saying we are disowning Enes, And I remember going to a work practice that day. It was definitely one of the most, probably toughest and awkward day in my life. And Turkish government didn't believe that. They sent police to my house in Turkey and they raided the whole house. They took every electronics away, phones, computers, laptops, because they wanted to see if I am still in contact with my family or not. And, if they would have seen any text message, any missed calls, any email or anything like that, they will be all in jail, which is they took my dad in jail for a while. But we put so much pressure from here to Turkey with media, they had to let him go. But he's been fighting, he's been in and out of jail and in and out of Turkish courts for, 7 years. Just probably around like 3-4 months ago, he finally got his freedom. And but like a lot of people were texting me and saying, hey, you can just finally be happy, focus on the other things now. I mean, like, people don't understand, my family or my dad is only one. Almost whole world now knows my story because of I play in NBA, but there are so many people out there and so many families out there, their situation is way worse than mine. I mean, you look at the numbers right now, there are, I think the last time I checked, there were 17,000 innocent women are in the jail. And there is almost 1,000 babies and kids are in the jail with their mother right now growing up. And I already told you guys about the journalists, but I think it just keeps getting worse. So like, I feel like if I just stop now, just because of my dad is free, I'll be like, they'll be very selfish. So I feel like it's just my duty now.
But it's not just your family. There's an international arrest warrant. The Turkish government has gone to Interpol requesting an international arrest warrant for you. Again, and I want to stress, you've never done anything violent in your life. You've never tweeted anything violent. Tell us about this international arrest warrant.
I mean, it's crazy because now, talking about, freedom, talking about democracy, talking about human rights made me a criminal in their eyes. To me, it's just, it's wild. But I remember it was 2 years ago, I was with New York Knicks and we had this exhibition game, friendly game in London against the Washington Wizards. And I talked to my team, I talked to the front office, and they're like, listen, we would love you to come, but I think, it's only one game. So let's just not risk anything, just stay in America. While my team playing was on the air, they put my name on Interpol. So that's the one thing that they do. If you're in Turkey and speak out against the government, they will put you in jail. But if you are outside of Turkey, they put your name on Interpol, and wherever you are, they try to send you back to Turkey. So I mean, it's crazy because like I'm not a journalist, I'm not a politician. My first job to play basketball, but I just couldn't be out there with my teammates and play basketball. It did broke my heart, and actually we lost that game by 1 point, and so it was terrible. I mean, just because of like this, I haven't been going to Canada the last past probably like a couple years. But just this year, Celtics had to get in touch with the Prime Minister's office and said, listen, and it's just coming. You guys know his situation. Is it okay for him to come? Is anything going to happen? He's like, they were very respectful. They said, tell him to not worry about anything. He can come, play the game, and leave him there in peace. And that was like actually this year for the first time I left America.
That's Justin Trudeau's people.
Yes.
I've boxed against Justin. He's a great athlete. You wouldn't have known it looking at him, but he's actually a guy. You've also had hundreds of death threats.
I mean, those are not joke. Obviously, I remember I sit down with FBI and, talk about all this stuff. They told me take a screenshot and send it to us. I mean, I used to do it, but there was a point, there was so many of them, I stopped doing it. And I mean, it just shows their character, I mean, obviously, you're going to tell me, are you taking them serious? I mean, of course, those are death threats. You never know. I don't believe they can do some kind of operations in America, but you never know. There could be a lone wolf. There could be some crazy guy and try to come and, do something. But I mean, that's why, like, every time, wherever I go anywhere, I had to let someone know. I had to either let my friend know, or my manager know, or team security know. And actually, like when I was playing for Portland last year, I sit down with FBI and talk to them. They said, my managers actually said they don't like me to stay in a house. So I moved to a hotel because it's more secure. So when I was in a road game, the FBI came to my hotel room and they set up this thing called panic button. They said, whenever you feel uncomfortable, just push that button and we'll be there in like a few minutes. I never pushed it. I always wanted to push it on time and see if they can really gonna show in like 2 or 3 minutes. But it's just very sad that because you talk about these issues, you have to live with the panic button right next to your bed,
Yeah, and I really want to emphasize to our listeners, again, a lot of people listen to us outside of America, so they may not know this story. May 20th, 2017, you described it as the worst day of your life, or one of the worst days of your life. Tell us what happened, please. Just explain to the listeners what happened to you.
I mean, that day actually is my birthday. May 20th is my birthday. So, during the summertime, we do a lot of basketball camps, and, we just, because like summertime, it's time to, just take a few weeks off and then started to do basketball camps, started to give back and do some charity work. Back in 2017, I could travel anywhere I wanted. And I remember going to Romania. We landed in Romania. I gave my passport to this lady, and she looked for 5-10 minutes, and she told us, hold on a second. She went in the back, came back with the police, and they said, can you come on the back with us? I'm like, okay, sure. So we went to the back with them, and they're like, your passport has been canceled and you cannot get in the country. And I was just so shocked. I'm like, what is the reason? And the police were keep telling me that we cannot tell you the reason. If you want to know what's the reason is, just call the embassy. And I'm like, those are the people just revoked my passport. Of course, I'm not going to call them and say, why did you guys cancel my passport? And then after that, I was with my manager actually, and I was like, we don't have an American passport. Turkish government just revoked our passport, and I'm not an American citizen yet. So there is a chance that they could send us back to Turkey. So we need to leave this country as soon as possible and go back to America. So, and my manager agreed, and then we left left Romania in like 2 hours, and went back to flight. We were gonna go to New York over London, so we stopped in London, and the captain announced and said nobody gets up, and then we just got nervous. We were like, "Oh my God, what is happening?" So they opened the plane door, and then there's two police with the two like machine guns came in the flight, and then I was like, "Oh my God, we are going back to Turkey." Right? I was just so nervous, and my manager actually told me and said, if these two police came for us, we are going back to Turkey. So they went right, left. They tried to look for someone, but they know where we're sitting, so they took someone out from the plane. I have no idea what his problem was, but we missed our New York flight. So the lady was like, "Take these two hotel keys, just go to hotel and come back and just fly the next day." But we couldn't tell her we are kind of international criminals. People are looking for us. If we leave the airport, we cannot come back in. So we told her we're gonna stay in the airport that day, and she was like looking at us really weird. But and then the next day there was this gentleman was just standing in front of the door. I still remember him in my head. I walked, and he's like, "Give me your green card. I'm a green card holder, and give me your ID or say ID." And then I gave it to him. He took some notes, called some people, and said, "Go ahead." And later on, we learned that he was from Homeland Security. So we went to New York plane, landed in New York, and I was just like, "Man, this is my home. I'm not living here anymore. This is like the safest place on earth right now." But yeah,
and that whole saga started at 2:45 in the morning in Indonesia, with your manager banging on your door to get you up. What happened there?
Oh yeah, that was like the before Romania. That was like that was our last stop. So we went to Pacific tour before Indonesia. I remember, we did a basketball camp, and after the basketball camp, we went to our friends, and they said, "Do you want to stay in a hotel or do you want to stay at the school?" They showed me the pictures of the school. The beds were really small. I'm like, there is no way I'm gonna fit in here. So I was like, might as well let's just go to a hotel. So I was sleeping, and then around like 2:45, 3 o'clock, my manager knocked my door. I'm like, what was happening? So I opened the door. He said, "Come to my room. We need to talk." I'm like, "That late?" He's like, "Yeah, come on." So I went to his room, and he said, "There's some people came to the school. You just had basketball clinic with." I'm like, "Who?" He said, "I have no idea." And he said that this could get very ugly. We need to leave this country as soon as possible. And I wanted to stay. I'll be honest. I wanted to stay because the next day we had so many things scheduled. And he said we need to leave as soon as possible. So we looked at the flight. First flight was around 5:30 a.m. to Singapore. And we got on that flight. We left. When we landed in Singapore, we called our local guy in Indonesia. I was like, "Who was those guys?" They said, "You guys are very lucky because you guys are left because those guys were army and intelligence service or something came and take you and wanted to talk to you, And I knew if I was there, they would have definitely sent me back to Turkey because that's what they do. Turkish government works with some other countries that they send so many people back to Turkey, and when they get to Turkey, they put them in a prison.
Let's go right to the source of why the Turkish government has a problem with you. It's partly because you're speaking out. It's partly because you're condemning the president justifiably for his human rights abuses, but it's also because you were on a system called bylock, which is linked to the Gulen movement. Tell us about who Gulen is and his beliefs, please.
First of all, I did not have that app. So it's wild because I did not have that app. Yeah. Because so it's just so crazy because there is this app called Bylock, And if you had this app, it counts as like a terrorism act. And if you had that app, that they will put you in jail. It's just the craziest thing I have ever heard. And so I go to not Mr. Gulen's school, but this movement school, Gulen movement school, since second grade. Because they were like the best kind of schools in Turkey. And I grew up in this movement. And when I come to America, that was like the first time that I had a chance to meet with Mr. Gulen. I think it was back in 2013. It was my third year in the league. And I remember first time, just sitting down and talking to him, just learning from him was definitely a blessing, because his ideology was just amazed me so much. What he believes is we have lots of problems are happening in our world because of uneducated people. So he's like, if we can educate our youth, especially our youth, we're going to have a better and brighter future. And, one thing that he told me was just amazed me so much is he said, it doesn't matter what you believe in. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter your skin color is or where you came from. The most important thing in life is leave your differences on the table and trying to find what we have in common. Because he said, we are human, and then religion comes, this and that comes. That amazed me so much, because, if you look at our locker room, we have players from all over the world and languages from all over the world. But we go out there and talk one language, and it's basketball. And we leave our differences in the locker room, and that is making us a better, friend and better teammate. So I think those things just really, amazed me so much, and I was just, that's so beautiful.
But Erdogan has a major problem with Gulen. Again, the president of Turkey thinks Mr. Gulen, who lives just outside Philadelphia, is a terrorist. What is that all about? What's going on there?
It's crazy, because this moments, the media outlets, schools, or whatever they have in Turkey was the only one telling Erdogan and saying, you are wrong. You steal from people. You did corruption. Or so whatever he's doing, like either media outlets and newspapers or whatever they have were saying, you are wrong. You shouldn't be doing this. And I feel like this movement was very powerful, back in before the coup attempt. And so I feel like the Erdogan scapegoated this movement and blamed whatever he did to Mr. Gulen and his followers. And if you ask anyone outside of Turkey, especially in America, people are saying beautiful things. But if you go into Turkey and say Gulen movement, even if you say the name is Gulen, then you'll be in jail.
Controversial question. Mesut Özil, who is the Arsenal football player, invited Erdogan to his wedding and has a photo of him with Erdogan. Is there a division among the Turkish athletes, the high-level Turkish athletes like yourself and Mesut Özil, between who supports Erdogan and who doesn't?
I respect their, I respect their athleticism. I respect their, achievements. He's obviously one of the most famous, German and Turkish, both soccer player in the world. And he's not the only one. You look at Hido Turkoğlu. He was another, NBA basketball player, played in the NBA for 15 years. Now he's in Turkey. For they're amazing athletes. I have nothing to say about good things about their, athlete side. But if you look at other side, so in Turkey, it's just crazy, because if you're an athlete or singer or rapper, or if you have a platform, and if you look like that you're on the government side, you get a lot of benefits. So like you look at the other example I just give you, Hido Turkoğlu, right? He was like my big brother. because I played in the same team with him in a national team back in 2011. And we actually sit down and had this conversation so many times. Like I even told him, it's like, you don't need him. You know, you played in NBA for 15 years and all that stuff. But just because of he is the follower of Erdogan, he got a lot of benefits. Now he's the head of Turkish national team. He got a lot of, other benefits from that. But I think, and he's gone literally, there is so many actually, if you go on YouTube, you can watch it. And many of his interviews, he goes media outlet to media outlet, TV channel to TV channel, and talking trash about my name, which is, I still respect him because I know he's poison.
Sorry, you respect him because he's poison? So I didn't understand.
No, I respect him because he is an amazing basketball player, but what he's doing off the court is definitely unacceptable.
What is the attitude of the other Turkish NBA players that are playing now to you?
It's not pretty at all because, like, obviously they are here to represent Turkey, and I'm here to represent Turkey. And whenever we play against them, it's like they are like my little brothers. Actually, two of them play with my little brother in the same team. So I look at them as like my little brothers. Actually, whenever I played against them, I try to always talk to them. There is one in Cleveland. There is one in Philly. There is one in Milwaukee. And every time I try to talk to them, they just turn their head to the other side. I mean, that is the fear of a dictatorship, I believe, because they have nothing to do with these conversations. They don't even understand this, what's going on. But anytime I try to talk to them, they just turn their head to the other side and they do not say a word.
Do you find that's true in the NBA? I noticed, for example, in January 2019, when you were a New York Knicks player, you couldn't travel internationally. You had that focus, the international arrest warrant was taken out against you. And then 2 months later, you were a Portland Timbers player. Like, did they get rid of you because you were causing too much problems?
Oh, no, because, it was nothing to do with the off the court stuff, because Knicks was going for a draft pick, and I was like, I wanted to win, and so that was one of the reasons that we sit down and talk. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go to a team that which can win a championship, and I went to Portland Trail Blazers, which we made the Western Conference Finals that year.
So it had nothing to do with your off-court human rights activism.
NBA. Adam Silver texted my phone twice and said, "Let us know if we can do anything for you." So right now, just the support that not just the NBA, but like my teammates, the coaches, the organization, and everybody to show me that definitely give me extra motivation to fight.
Awesome. Let's talk about some of your other beliefs. You've just done a public service announcement about cruelty to animals. Talk us through some of those beliefs, please.
I'm sorry, say it again. I couldn't hear you.
I've just seen one of your public service announcements about, your veganism is very well known, but you've just come out with a public service announcement about how industrial animal treatment of animals. Tell us about that, please.
I'll be honest. I'm not vegan yet. I'm working on it, but I think one of my friends was sending me this video about the animal abuses, and then how the effective farm system needs to change and all that stuff, right? And I was like, what? If I call myself an activist, I cannot just talk about Turkey. I got to start talking about some other things too. And living in this NBA bubble for over 80 days, I just wanted to change something. I was like, because people was always talking about like, they want to vegan, how good they feel. But I'm like, what? I'm an athlete, so I need to get some protein, And, growing up, all our, coaches, the nutritionists, and everybody was telling us, if you don't eat meat, if you don't get enough protein, you're not going to be faster. You're not going to be You're not going to be stronger. You're not going to be leaner. You're not going to be better than other players. And I wanted to change something during the NBA bubble. And I cut down red meat almost, 100%. And I stopped eating chicken too. So all I was eating was a little bit of fish. And I'll be honest, I never felt that leaner. I never felt that much energetic. Whenever I wake up in the morning, I was feeling so much better. And I could tell that even like my teammates or like my coaches can tell that your performance are changing. And there was this documentary called Game Changers. I don't know if you guys ever heard that
Yes,
before,
saw that.
but if you're an athlete, you got to watch that documentary because it's definitely a life changing. Because growing up, all those coaches are telling you got to eat meat, you got to do this and that. It's all wrong, But I think it's all about, if you're an athlete, you got to do your study, because your body is like your everything. So that's why you gotta put the best thing in your body, so you can play 14, 15, maybe 16 years in a league.
And you had in that public service announcement, you were talking about how you get to vote 3 times a day. Tell us about that, please.
It's important because, like, after seeing this, what's going on, like how animals are treated in the farms, how workers are treated, how their people are, getting hurt sometimes, maybe even getting killed sometimes. Is like I said again, you get to vote 3 times a day, because I'm from the Middle East, and it's like so hard to tell a Middle Eastern guy that meat is not the best thing for you. They will just laugh at your face, because I remember growing up, for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, always if there's no meat in that dish, it didn't count as a dish. It just counted as like a snack, So like, I think you get to, like I said again, you get to vote 3 times a day. That what kind of world you want to live in, and we just need to make a better choice, especially if you have a platform, if you're an athlete, or if you're a singer, rapper, actor. There's so many young kids are idolizing you out there, and now with all the social media and stuff, you can inspire so many kids, and I think we need to do that.
Have you always been this way? Have you always been the guy that questions and challenges?
Yes, I mean, even when I was growing up, I was always like, questioning my teacher's answer, always like, challenging them and stuff. But I think it's all about if you care or not, just because like the choice you make is just cannot be just only about yourself. I feel like, God given people a platform for a reason, not just just play. Like, example, myself, I don't want to, whenever I'm done with my career, I don't want to look back and say, I average 20 points, I average 10 rebounds. I don't want to be just known as just a basketball player, because it's all about how many lives that you changed, how many hearts you touched. I think that's being unselfish.
A bunch of young people listening to this, what's the advice that you'd like to give to a young person, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old?
I think the number one thing is invest in your future. Invest in your future by reading, because I know there's so many distractions. Talking about video games, PlayStation, laptop, computer, all the social media apps and everything. It is literally just gives you nothing and poison your body. So I feel like the best investment in your future is by reading a book. Just because it's just, I'm not talking about an iPad for reading. I'm talking about like an actual book reading, because you got to feel that, you got to smell that book. I think that's the number one thing. And the second thing is never be afraid of what you believe in. I remember when I was a little kid, my mom told me, believe in something and stand tall for it, even if it means sacrificing everything. I feel like the one thing we need to ask ourselves is, what can I do to make this world better together? Not just myself, because the one man I don't know if he has enough power to change the whole world, but I think if we get together, if we work as a team, like a basketball team, I feel like we can have a better and a brighter future.
Brother, thank you both for spending time with us today. It was a really inspiring conversation with a professional athlete with such a big heart and conscience, but also thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Brother, just wait one moment. Ron is going to tell me all the questions I should have asked you, and we'll just do a couple of quick ones. Ron, what would you like me to ask Enes?
Yeah. Right.
Cool.
Okay.
Let me just ask a pickup question here. You came through a one and done year in the NCAA. What's your views on the NCAA as an institution?
Oh man, whenever you say NCAA, it's like my heart's shattered because I turned down millions and millions of the dollars in Europe and just come here to play NCAA basketball. Because people need to understand it's so hard to get your education and play basketball or play any kind of sport same time in overseas. But in America, it's possible. If your grades are not good, you're not going to be even in the team. So, I came here for high school and I played 1 year. And after that, my dream to wanted to play a college basketball. And, they came back and said, I am not eligible for it. We actually asked the NCAA and said, let me sit my first year and play my second year. And they came back and said, no, you're permanently ineligible. And that definitely, broke my heart because, like I said, again, one of the biggest reasons I wanted to come here, just get my education, play basketball at the same time. But they forced me to be one and done. So, but I still want to go back to school and finish my education because I think it's very important.
What's your dream university course that you'd like to do?
I went to Kentucky, University of Kentucky. I remember first time I got there, one of my teachers asked me, if you weren't a basketball player, what would you like to be? I told them I wanted to be an astronaut, because space was always so interesting to me. I still watch some some video clips and pictures and stuff. But he said, son, they don't make the spaceships big enough for you. So that crushed my dreams. But I always wanted to be an astronaut.
I'd like to put a plug in. I think you should think about coming to the University of New Haven and taking my sports integrity course. I'm doing a graduate certificate in sports integrity, teaching people around the world how we can use sport for good and clean up the corruption in sport. So that's what I'm teaching my students to do. How do you do it? How to recognize. We're the only school in the world that does that. So
wow.
I would love if you came and be my student once you retire in 20 years.
For sure.
And I won't take any more time. It's been such an honor for us to speak to you today. And thank you again for all your work. It's super appreciated. I know there's somebody in a prison somewhere in Turkey who wants me to say thank you again for all that you're doing and making sure people don't forget that attention, the light is going to be shone on this.
Thank you, guys. If you guys ever in Boston, let me know. I would like to invite you. After this virus, obviously, I would like to invite you to one of my games. Right now, it's no fans allowed.
Ben teşekkür ediyorum.
Teşekkür ederim. Sağ olun.
That was, for me anyway, a surprising interview with an international athlete. To hear him sum up his life's goal by saying, it's all about how many hearts you touch, how many lives you change, struck me as a real difference from many athletes that I've spoken to. This is Declan Hill for Crime Waves. We really, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for listening. Do follow us on crimewavespodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We very much appreciate this. Thanks a lot. We'll see you soon.